What's up? This is Jordan Gray from Half Lit and DopelivenTV.
Hey, this your boy Don Ritchie representing the Midwest 219 Stand Up.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Lamar Tate.
This is your girl, Monifa.
Hey, what up? It's your man Dave Hollister from Blackstreet.
You know what this is right here. This Trigger Trench in the building.
Hey, what's up, y'all? This is your boy Jason Weaver. And whenever I'm back home in the Chi, I'm checking out Dope Living TV.
Hey, it's your girl, Adina Howard, and you're watching Dope Living TV, live with Greg Gray and the crew.
Hey, what's up? It's your boy Greg Gray, Dope Living TV live. Today we got a real special show. Okay, we're going to be talking about mental illness. And we have a young lady that's going to be on here closing out Women's History Month, by the way. It's going to be on here. Her name is Ayanna Jones, and she's talking about mental illness, and she's going to shed some light on the subject. When people see people acting a certain way and this and that, the first thing anyone says, oh, they crazy and this and that, but it's not necessarily that. There's some things that are going on, and I was going to shed some light on it, all right? The views that are expressed on this Dope Living TV Live are not necessarily the views of Dope Living TV or its affiliates. Having said that, let's get it going, all right? What's up, Gina?
What's up, bro?
I'm chilling, man. Everything, and then some, all right?
And then some.
You know, let's go to Tennessee. What's going on, bro?
Hey, what's going on?
What's happening, Maurice? Mo B.
Yeah. We got Kevin Mack standing by.
Hey, K Mac.
What's up? We're riding out the storm here in Philadelphia.
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah, y'all got that stuff that we had the day before. Yeah.
We got a great show. We got a very informative show today. We got a young lady, Ayanna Jones, that's going to be on here. She's going to talk about the signs of mental illness. She's the founder and CEO of Breaking Cycles Incorporated. It's a nonprofit organization that's designed to bring awareness to the importance of mental health and positive self-care. And we're going to learn all about it and make sure that we collect all we can. All right. So having said that, Gina, I'm going to let you do the honors.
Oh, let's bring her on. We are ready. Bam. Woo.
Okay, more quick.
Hey, hello, everyone.
Welcome.
That's a bam.
What's up, Ayanna?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. Thank you.
Look
for
at that
coming
beautiful
to the show.
smile.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Thank
you for hanging out with us today. We gonna need you today. We definitely need you today.
Thank you for allowing me to be here with you guys. Look, I keep asking myself, what are you getting put in front of these cameras? And I'm like, what is going on? But hey, I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna do whatever I gotta do because I'm on
This is important.
Yeah.
Show up and you show out. That's what you do.
Yep.
Yeah. Look, you
everybody say hello to the life coach.
Hey, Jeff.
Hey, J-Real.
Hello.
How you doing? Let's get it in, Ayanna. So you're championing a cause that a lot of people don't really have full understanding on, and that's mental illness. You want to tell us a little bit about what you do?
Well, my name is Ayanna Jones. I started Breaking Cycles Inc. To bring awareness to mental health. I personally have been through several different traumatic experiences that I know personally I'm not going to say molded me, but in a sense it kind of did. And I just want to empower other people and let them know like the challenges that you go through, those negative thoughts, those negative feelings that you feel, you're not alone. And there is a way to combat those things, and you can make it through it. So that's really just the general overview of what I'm trying to do. But if we go more into depth, like many people don't understand that trauma is an actual injury to your brain. Like, you got several different parts of your brain. The main three that I'm working on kind of studying and understanding is the prefrontal cortex, the hippocampus, and the amygdala, all which are have to do with emotional responses, decision making, like that fight, flight, or freeze thing, like several different things that I'm just trying to bring awareness to let people know, like, this stuff is really normal. We all go through it. And if we just learn how to speak on it and voice the things that we're going through mentally, we'll learn that we are not by ourselves. And there are ways to really genuinely combat this, and you can really rewire your brain. You can change the way that you think. It's just, you have to be willing to be patient with yourself. So I'm here to kind of be that person to let you know I've been where you are, and some days I still am where you are, because I mean, it's an ongoing journey for all of us every day. So yeah.
So you just mentioned a bunch of I guess those are areas of the brain. I don't know, but for those of us that are listening, saying, "Well, no, what the hell is she talking about?" Can you break that down?
Well, the prefrontal cortex is like the front lobe of your brain. Pretty much, it is what we make our decisions with. It regulates our emotions, that kind of thing. And I don't want to say the other two, the amygdala and the hippocampus. As I said, I'm kind of working myself right now, kind of studying them, because it's a self-education thing for me as well. They are responsible for that fight, flight, or freeze thing. When we go through traumatic experiences, sometimes we run and we avoid anything that reminds us of that triggering situation. Sometimes we get hostile if we're triggered. Other times we just shut down. So I just want to kind of let you know, like, there are parts of your brain that really regulate those things. And if you work at correcting it, and rewire your brain, honestly, yeah, that'll help. So simply put, it's just all about being self-aware.
Okay.
I have a question, because I've been knowing you since before you were born.
Whoa. Wow.
And this is,
see, I'm gonna leave the joke. I'm gonna leave the jokes off, okay? Because I got to joke for
that. I know you do. Now,
man.
you didn't start off with a nonprofit. You started off doing something else that led to the nonprofit. So tell us a little bit about that.
Honestly, I started off in healthcare. Just straight out of high school, I went and I got my CNA certification. I had a kid when I was 14. So getting a CNA license straight out of high school, I felt like that was something that was good for me and my child. It would bring a stable income. And just as I continued to go through my life journey and I experienced different things, I meet different people, I just really kind of got extremely interested in mental health. And I never really thought about it as a thing of it really affecting a person or the way that they think or the way that they interact within the world. I just felt like we all just who we are. It is what it is type thing. But the more I was exposed to the topic, it really kind of shifted me. And if I'm being completely transparent, this was put on my heart when I was in the 4th grade. It may sound crazy, but I've always had a close relationship with God. And when I was in the 4th grade, I read a book called Breaking Cycles. It was by Dr. Ebony Wilson. And it pretty much just tells his story, how he went from being a troubled, no, I don't want to say troubled youth, because I don't really like to use that term, but how he grew from his challenges, and the struggles that he endured as a child, from having different learning disabilities to just the environment that he was involved and around, from going to that to getting his PhD kind of thing. And that kind of stuck with me from that point up until now. And I never really understood it, but as I kind of dove more into the mental health thing, I got more of an understanding.
May I ask
ahead,
a question?
Yes.
The conversation we're having, are you speaking from education based on the scholastic aspect of mental health, or are you also speaking from a point of reference of it being personal to you?
Both.
Can I ask you about your injury?
Yeah, I don't mind at all.
That's what he did. He just asked you.
I'm asking.
I mean, my injury, it's a few of them. Like I've honestly endured a lot. So I had a kid at 14. I've suffered mental abuse, physical abuse, all of it. So I mean, that's my injuries they're long-winded.
I mean, that's cool. And you know that was similar to what I was going to ask, because you know you had to choose this path for a reason, and evidently, you know, and to Kevin's point, yes, you got schooled on it for the finer points, okay, but back before that, some things happened to make you get into it. Well, one thing I do want to ask is, how do you identify mental illness in a person?
That's a good question.
Honestly, hyperactiveness, people pleasing, a person who's always just trying to open themselves up and be there. Like, I can do this. I'm going to do this for you. Yeah. I'm going to neglect myself. What else? I'm sorry. This is. I'm a little nervous. Like, this is how.
You don't have to be nervous. This is family here, girl.
Yeah, just relax. We all good. Yeah.
And we don't hold nothing back.
And you can talk about anything you want to, but if you don't want to talk about it, we'll move on. Okay?
Oh, no, I'm cool. Self-isolation, substance abuse, excessive substance abuse is what I should say, because we grown, we can all have a drink if we want to, but excessive substance abuse, hypersexuality, just a lot of different things.
I must have mental illness.
No, you have sexual illness.
It's not necessarily that you have a mental illness.
We all
endure some type of trauma, and trauma shapes who we are, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. So it's not that you're mentally ill. We've all endured trauma.
Yeah,
and
without a doubt, being black on this planet.
Yes, and if you really think about it, like, that's how we kind of grow as individuals. That's how we grow as a society. And I feel like if we can change the narrative around trauma and around mental illness, it will help a lot. Yeah. Yes, you do have those people who are diagnosed schizophrenic. You have those who are severe bipolar, severe depression, severe anxiety.
The clinical.
Yes, the clinical terms. You have all of those things. But if we can change the perspective around it and the way we perceive those kind of people, I feel like it'll make the world a whole lot easier to deal with. I'm all about peace, man. I love everybody. I don't care, black, white, boy, girl, short, tall. I don't care. Like, I'm a lover of people, and I just want to help.
So, Ayanna, let me ask you a question. You know the buzz that's been happening for the last 2 or 3 days about Will and Chris. How do you feel? What do you think about? We were thinking ourselves that Mr. Will Smith is in a different mental state right now. What do you feel about that? How do you feel about that?
I can agree with that. I feel like he's kind of been put in a situation where he has to defend his manhood, and I don't even know if it's necessarily a sense you can say it's for his wife or whatever, but I'm not a man, but just knowing what I know, you don't want to sit back and just keep constantly taking blow after blow after blow. He said last time he said on TV or the red table with his wife, and
he got demasculated.
He became a meme. He
Mm-hmm.
got to bring himself back from that. So I genuinely believe that, but at the same time, you have to have self-control, and you have to understand I got to be who I am at all costs. You can say what you want to say, you can think what you want to think, but I'm not going to be strung like no puppet, and I'm not going to let your words hurt me type thing.
So you said being who you got to be at all costs. Does that promote, does that make you have to do a little bit more for yourself mentally? And could that possibly be a springboard or a catalyst to beginning mental illness? If you're not getting what you want when you want, you're doing all that you can, but you're not getting it like you think it should come. Does that affect you like that mentally?
I'm trying to understand your question. I'm sorry.
Okay. So you're trying to get to a certain place in your life, all right?
Mm-hmm.
You got an obstacle stopping you from getting here. You got another obstacle stopping you from getting there. But you're feeling it within yourself that you know that you're doing enough, that you should have been there, and these obstacles are placing a burden on you. Is that a beginning cycle for mental illness?
Yes, it could be, definitely, but that's why it's so important that we show ourselves grace and we be patient with ourselves. Nothing is going to happen overnight, and everything is a journey, and I feel like it is very important to remember that through this life journey. Yeah, you can't be too hard on yourself. Like, you have to take your time. Like, everything is a process, and you don't want to keep trying to rush through everything, trying to get to the finish line, because if that's all you focused on is the finish line, you're gonna miss all the lessons that's coming before.
Okay. Everybody, we're talking to Ayanna Jones. She's the founder and CEO of Breaking Cycles Incorporated. We have our own life coach on here, Jeff Relaford, who's right next to you. And I don't know, Jeff, let me ask you, can you spot something when something is wrong, or something is more than what your expertise? Can you spot that? And do you think that you could, is it something that you would relay to somebody else, or do you continue to treat that?
Well, it all depends on the type of level we on. So for instance, when we start my program, it's a series of questions that I ask, and it's all based off of accountability, because that's my big thing. That's what I focus on. And depending on which way we go with the accountability, and we start formulating like the action plan and everything like that, as some time progresses and goes on, then I make that call if there's something deeper going on, or if it's something that we can kind of just hit and address with a simple goal shift. It takes a minute to kind of assess it. A lot of that doesn't come overnight with a lot of the people that I deal with. You know what I mean? Because we're building up. And sometimes when we build up, you can tell if it's a hint of anxiety in the mix or something like that. We all have anxiety to some extent.
Right.
But being able to measure, if it's, for instance, being able to measure if something like that is manic, you know what I mean? Or being able to say, okay, this is a little bit deeper than just you trying to get over the goal. Then I say, okay, then you may need to talk to somebody else in that area, because we keep hitting the goal, but now you're saying the same thing over and over again. And now in some cases, you may get a little more hostile, a little more aggressive. And see, that's something I can't treat.
Okay.
That's something I can't treat or diagnose,
Now, let me ask you a question, because I'm struggling with this, with the conversation at hand, because we have people on here that are addressing conversations about mental health that are not doctors. They're certified in this and they're certified in that. And you said that you can, Jeff, you know my story. You said you can spot someone through conversation, and I'm pretty sure, Ayanna, you can too, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Can
Yes.
you tell me what's wrong with me?
Well, I'll answer that. No, I'm joking. Go ahead, Ayanna.
To me, honestly, can I be honest? Am I?
No, I want you to be honest. I prefer you to lie.
But see, hold on, real quick, before you say anything, okay? Kevin, you haven't said a word, so how can she?
Hold on. That's exactly what I was about to
She
say.
gone.
He hasn't really said anything. So to me, honestly, that makes me feel like you're guarded, or you're a facts kind of dude. Just based off of the things that you have said, you're a facts kind of dude. You probably like to read a lot too. Kind of. That's what I'm getting from you. So yeah.
I would think that would take some type of assessment to even answer
Exactly.
that question.
Yeah, it takes time because, like I just said,
the
it
reason
takes.
why I asked, for the simple fact, when she said, we just diagnosed Will Smith without knowing him. We're reacting to a situation.
That was an opinion.
Zero.
Yeah, that was a question really that she was asking Greg.
Yeah, but we're giving advice as an expert. Now, this is what I struggle with.
I'm not trying to give advice.
Let me finish. This is what I struggle with and what I live with every single day. From a person that has had a severe concussion, is that for someone to look at me during the course of a day and watch how I function, and then how I deal and react to things. A lot of times I appear to be normal when I'm not functioning normal. All right. And a lot, the biggest thing, especially other conversations I've had with people that have had traumatic brain trauma, is that the people that are in our lives, are in our circle, don't understand. It's even when I was going through treatment, rehab after this, every single test that they gave me, I overachieved because that was my life before the concussion. But my brain was scrambled, and it functions that way every single day. And what I had to do, and you're right, I do read, and I had to read to re-educate myself going through this process. But no one seems to know. And even when I have the conversations with people, telling people that there are triggers, things that I'm reacting to, and really what I'm trying to do is get out of my way and trying to tell people that there's a freight train coming, beware. Normal people don't get it. And a lot of times modern medicine doesn't get it because they rather give you a pill than address the conversation at hand. And that's the reason why I asked you that question.
Okay, well, let me hold on, Ayanna. Let me redirect this at you, Kevin. So when you're feeling like you're getting to that point, all right, are there signals within yourself to tell you, hey, Kevin, let me back out of this, or let me stop doing this, or don't say this, or don't do that? Okay, are there triggers, or do you just ignore the triggers?
No, I actually tell people, it's like the biggest thing, and this is what I face with every single day. I can walk in a room and remember what was in the room 1 hour and come back an hour later and forget everything that was in the room. The details. I can sit there and it's just like, all you guys know that, when I call you, I always say send a picture with you, because a lot of times when Greg shows up, the 3,500 names I have in my saved in my phone, it just comes up Greg. I never see your last name. So that's the reason I see a picture. The picture is a trigger to me to identify this as a friendly conversation. And I've taught myself to stay focused because I have ADHD for 1 hour, 32 minutes. And I laugh about it. I said anything after 32 minutes, I consider it a comedy hour. Just enjoy the ride. So, but the hard part is trying to get people to understand that I am functioning normal, but I'm not normal.
Okay, so hearing all of that, Ayanna, now, again, you haven't had the conversation, and I gotta speak on this as well. Everybody say hello to Chris. I gotta speak on this as well.
What's going on, Chris?
What's going on? When we were talking about the Will Smith thing, she doesn't know anything about you. We've heard. She said she assessed. She just gave her opinion. She assessed everything because we've heard everything about Will Smith that we know of. Okay, so that's where her her assessment came from. Okay, but I am hearing Kevin, what, and just from this little bit right here, what would you tell him? Jeff, I want you to answer the same thing. Well, matter of fact, let's go to Jeff first as a life coach, and then we'll go into what you would do, Ayanna. So Jeff, as a life coach, you just heard what he said. What would you do without judging, but assessing what he just said? How could you help him?
Because see, that's the thing. With the help, I'm not helping you with medicine. I'm not helping you with a diagnosis. See, the big thing is a life coach, you got to know how to stay in your lane. You know what I mean? Every time I always talk about what life coaching is, it's about goal setting. See, that's what I can help you in. Now, what you said right there, Kevin, when you said how you pay attention, how you focus, those are the main things that we would need to talk about within your goal setting, because those are key factors that I would need to know how you keep your attention. You know what I mean? So the different type of goals that we may set, or the different type of conversations we may have, they won't be long conversations. I know for a fact, and not to stay, I can't talk to you for 2 hours on the phone like I can do some of my other clients. You know what I mean? We have to tailor the sessions to your needs and what you already have going on right then and there. So then I have to go ahead and formulate something different from you. So everything is a conversation. You know, we don't diagnose. We don't do nothing like that, because that's how we end up having people knocking on the door and giving us papers at our household. That's not what we do. You know, that's why everything is a conversation. So that's why how I would handle Kevin.
Okay, and Ayanna, how would you look at it?
Honestly, I completely agree. I'm all about meeting people where they are. I was just stating my opinion on a couple different things, but yeah, I genuinely believe on meeting people where they are. You can't force people to see things the way that you see them. So yes, definitely assessing him, and just kind of letting him take the lead in a sense, and I just kind of guide him through it, if that makes sense.
Okay, and what if that person is defiant as far as that goes? Now they've sought you out. They said, "Hey, I need to talk to you," but they're every time you say, you've listened to them, and then they come back and say, "Well, no, 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 you're wrong. That's not me because this, because that." I mean, how can you break that conversation? How can you break that, or can you break it?
I honestly believe you can't help somebody until they're willing to help themselves, or they're really ready to help themselves. And a part of being ready to help yourself is accepting constructive criticism. I'm not telling you anything bad. I'm not trying to judge you or anything of that nature, but we can hear some things. Let's set some goals together. Let's discover some things about you. Let me help you bring some different things to light about yourself, and then we can go from there.
Well, Byron says Kevin has women asking him to get married, so he's doing just fine. He probably got more pregnancy when he was single.
Oh, Byron.
Well, yeah. So this is, when you talk about the struggles and I've spoken to a couple of people that we go through the same thing. Not the struggles within us. Is, when I say struggles, it's how do we teach the people that are in our life to recognize what we're going through when we're trying to tell them and they're telling us we're not feeling that way? How do you teach your family and friends to understand that you're going through a certain kind of way? Because otherwise I function fine during the course of a day.
I feel like it's very important to set healthy boundaries for yourself. Other people may not know where you're coming from, but ultimately at the end of the day, so just setting those boundaries for you, so you aren't put in uncomfortable situations, I feel like is very important, because you can't always expect someone to understand your life or your perspective, because we all think differently.
Okay, but life is life. Life is life, and you just transparently identified that, okay, you have a problem, but you gotta want to be helped. I'm not saying you per se, Kevin. I'm saying
no, you can say me.
Individual. You gotta want to be helped. You gotta have an open mind, just like Ayanna was just saying. All right, and if you don't have that, then you don't want help, in my opinion. Jenny, you were gonna say something?
No, I was gonna ask. I'm curious to know Yana, what's your take on mental illness and the police, because that's kind of huge now.
Wow, that's a good question.
I feel like it's very trauma based. We all look at the citizens and just honestly the black community being traumatized, but me, like I said earlier, I am a lover of all people, and I can understand things from several different perspectives. They're traumatized too. regardless of how they're perceived to be protected, we're all human. And they go out and they fear for their lives just as much as we fear for our own. And I only say that because things have been getting a little more, how can I say it, rambunctious. People are starting to really genuinely just lose all filter and all care, with a lot of different situations. So I feel like they're traumatized, we're traumatized, and when you have two different groups of people or persons who are traumatized trying to constantly go at each other but not really dig at the real issue, it's going to always be a fight. Until we are able to kind of understand what we have gone through as a society, not as just a race, I don't think anyone will ever be able to really understand, because it's two sides to every story. There's three
Now,
sides to every story.
one of the things that they're suggesting is organizations like yours going out and either with the police or instead of the police to handle illness patients that have a disorder. Do you feel that that's the answer
Yes,
to?
honestly, that's something I feel like it would be very helpful, because you have a lot of situations where it could be a mentally ill person, who actually has a diagnosis, and it's a situation where the police is not required. It could be just a situation where they need to be redirected in a certain way or talked to in a certain way. But if you have a police officer who is pretty much trained to protect, and if they feel threatened, what option do they have? I feel like it'll be very helpful to have something like a licensed therapist or something of that nature go in instead of the police, kind of like acting as a crisis intervention team, especially with the youth, especially with the youth.
You think that would help slow down the rapid decline of targeting black people and eliminating them from this earth? I mean, in Philadelphia a couple of weeks ago, we had a man that had a knife, which was shot multiple times, um, and shot while he was already on the ground 4 or 5 times, and he only had a knife. And it was called justified because they felt threatened.
Correct.
And in
Yeah.
the law, they basically can say if they felt threatened, they have a right to use deadly force. How does a mental health advocate being in that situation prevent or save someone's life when it's a gun um, versus a knife? Or is that possible?
I honestly don't. It really it depends on that person. Me
But is that a
personally,
mental is that a mental illness question?
It's probably a mental illness on the police officer because and the reason why I said this,
they're
there's a young
traumatized. They feel
yeah
threatened.
there was a young man that went into the academy here in Philadelphia that wanted to make a difference as far as community because of Black Lives Matter and what was going on. They fast tracked him and put him on the streets. He is purposely right now targeting people of his own color because he feels more comfortable pulling them over and arresting them than basically having to deal with someone that doesn't look like him. And when I spoke to him, he just said, we have a quota, and he's a state officer. So whatever they did to him in police academy changed the man that had a purpose to serve versus he came home a man that had repeated the same conversation is that at the end of the day, I need to go home to my family.
Okay,
I think the premise of having a trained licensed therapist or someone there in that capacity is to prevent from it, to keep it from
I
getting to
agree.
that level. And so if you can have someone there who can talk this person down, maybe talk them into putting down the knife or putting down the weapon,
Hmm.
it's a much better situation. And then police don't have to resort to shooting them down.
And we need to get people inserted in the academy from day one and then ride along and have those people train and have those officers recognized and allow them to be in that position to help first before they shoot. I
Right.
agree.
Absolutely.
We need people like you.
Byron has said he's married to a licensed mental health therapist, and he gets to read her professional magazines that come in the mail. The case studies are beyond interesting. Let me ask you, Ayanna, Jeff, as well. Um,
Mhm.
with someone who's been identified as having a mental health condition, mental illness, um, is therapy better or are drugs better? And how do you get to to distinguish whether which one is the way to go?
Now remember when we answer these questions, remember we not therapists with this.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So yeah, this is
That's
strictly.
opinion.
I just want to let the people know out there too. This is strictly opinions.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Opinion based, just based off what me and Ayanna do. You know what I mean? So I'm sorry, Ayanna. Did you want to take that first?
No, you go ahead. You good.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry. I just wanted to say that real quick. For
No, you
everybody.
good.
Okay.
The views to the
So how I kind of look at it is, drugs do help. They do help in most cases keep like a balance. Like I said, my friend is bipolar, and you know what I mean. She has to take her medicine to level herself out, and it is a combination of both. You know what I mean. I could say this with her therapy and her medication. You know what I mean. I see it all the time, and I hear it all the time when I talk to her. You know what I mean. How like a few weeks ago she was crocheting. Doc told her to go ahead and kind of ease her mind while she's also taking her medicine, because the medicine isn't always a permanent fix. It helps level you out, but she could still go other places. You know what I mean? So said find something to do with your hands. You know what I mean? Crochet, get your fidget spinner, something like that, to keep your outer extremities going a little bit. You know what I mean? So that way you're just not focused or fixated on something that can make you manic. Like she's trying to buy a house or something. No need to stress about trying to get a house or trying to, in some cases, fix your debt. Do other stuff that have a tendency to probably take over.
Okay, Ayanna.
I genuinely believe it depends on the person. I've seen the different effects that medication can have on people, and I've witnessed some people say, "Hey, it works." I've witnessed some people say, "No, it doesn't." So I definitely agree. It just depends on the person and their state.
Okay, all right, good answers, y'all. So you've been diagnosed. You've been diagnosed with mental illness. Even if you feel it, how can you improve it? How can you get well?
Don't let it rule your life. Do not let it rule your life. Like, yeah, you can take the necessary precautions, do what you have to do to make sure that you are well, but don't let it rule you and your being. You can still live a normal life. You can still go out and do stuff as normal people do. Or I'm not going to say normal people, as everyone else does. You're just special. You just gotta do things a little bit differently.
And
Um,
can I answer that since I'm a patient and I had to go through that myself? Okay, because with me, I had to teach myself the basics, everything. Retaught myself how to read, retaught myself. I listen more because I'm learning now. I'm listening to inflections in people's voice because I stuttered at a while. And you guys will know if I'm trying not to stutter, all of a sudden my speeds up because I'm trying to catch up with the word before the word comes out and it repeats itself. So it's just being aware of your own triggers. And like I said, my biggest frustration is trying to get people to understand and work with me. The other things that I've retaught myself, writing, I'm more patient, I speed write and so forth. And I listen a lot. So I think that the easiest thing is even going through therapy. You have to learn the very basics. You have to learn your neuromuscular skills. They do a lot of things to tossing balls to see where, if your eyes line up with a certain way, if what your peripheral vision is, whatever. it's almost like being born a second time. And a lot of times I laugh at myself because every day is Groundhog's Day. I get to redo one day over and I get to do it better. And it frustrated me in the very beginning with other people. And then I just basically said, we all have our own agendas. I got to focus in on mine. And for anyone that's going through that, you have to be the first person to heal yourself. And then you have to educate people to help you heal.
Okay. And as you're going through that, as you're going through trying to heal yourself or trying to help someone else, it can put a strain on you as well. All right. And get you to that point of creating help, mental illness on yourself. All right. Where's the balance at, Jeff? Ayanna, where's that balance? How can you balance yourself so that you won't get or succumb to becoming mentally ill?
You want to take it, Ayanna, first? I can piggyback. Okay.
No, good.
I was gonna say, a lot with you gotta have that balance. You know what I mean? Like you said, it's kind of like, how we say self-care is the best care. A person has to be willing to identify that self-care. Them getting better and trying to receive the help is that self-care. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Now, some people can be stubborn. You know what I mean, and think that okay, well, I'm not quote unquote crazy. You know what I mean? Or there's nothing wrong with me, or I'm fine. But the thing is, sometimes you have to be shown that too. You know what I mean? And in a healthy and a productive way. You know what I mean? Nothing to trigger anybody or set them off. But sometimes we naturally, as people, just don't want to be told that we're doing something opposite of what we believe we're doing. We naturally will combat that and fight that. You know what I mean? So, and then when you're dealing with a mentally ill patient or somebody who has been diagnosed, sometimes depending on who and what you're dealing with, it could be on a totally different level. So from within, they have to be able to recognize their issues, their problems, and then go back and then identify that as well, Yeah,
Ayanna? Ayanna?
Yeah.
You want to answer? Same question.
I don't know if she can hear us.
Can you hear us, Ayanna?
I don't think she can hear us.
Yeah, I think her sound is gone.
Okay, so with that, Joe, and Ayanna, when you come back, you can jump right back in. What people go to people like yourself, like Ayanna. Can you hear us, Ayanna?
Okay. Yes, I can now. It cut out. Okay. I can.
That's fine. You're fine. You're fine.
Can you hear me?
Griffin Brandon says sometimes you don't have to be diagnosed to have mental illness.
True.
No, you do not.
So let me ask you guys.
A lot of mental illness goes undiagnosed, honestly.
True, especially in the Black community.
Yes.
Okay. So let me ask you guys. So you identified that you have mental illness, and you go to people like the life coach, like Ayanna. What do you do if the support that you're getting from these guys? What do you do when it doesn't help? You've done all of this and it's still not helping. They're still in the same place from day one. What do you do when it doesn't help?
Honestly, you got a God or a higher power. If you don't believe in God, a higher power, I genuinely believe we were not put on this earth to handle life on our own by ourselves, because it genuinely is a lot. Just being completely 100, we all go through a lot. And I just feel like it is so important and imperative to believe in something bigger than yourself, to believe that you are serving a bigger purpose than just being here on this earth, going through the things that we go through. When all else fails, call on your higher power. That's really the simplest way that I can put that. Right. I don't know no other way.
Right. Griffin Brandon says, and Jeff, you can chime in on this too. He says that you have to apply the help that you're getting. He says that he goes to a therapist and it is amazing. And like you just spoke on the higher power, he said, then those are demons that need to be delivered. You can hide only for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? It's our society of people. Black people do not want to get help. We all feel that we can work
We
things
good.
out ourselves, and
Mm-hmm.
we will not reach out for the help that's out there. Or you don't want people in your business, so to speak, or you don't want
Mm-hmm.
people to know that there's some dysfunction or something that's not right in your family. And then it just becomes a curse. It goes from generation to generation to generation.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's because we look at the whole, we look at the whole aspect. Since we are talking about black people, we can put some of that accountability on white people too. With that separation of who was more important and who was lesser than. You know what I mean? So oftentimes, what happens is when the quote unquote lesser race feels a certain way about themselves, this is what gets carried on. This is through our way of life. This is through our different programs that we offer our own people. You know what I mean? White people can go ahead and hop up and say they can. I had a guy at work. True story. I had a guy at work. He did not want to run a certain line because he hadn't done it in like a year. That man went home and he was able to say that he was having anxiety, and they sent him home for 3 days. 3 days. And now me and my boy was talking. We was like, "Come on, man. We know now. If the shoe was on the other foot,
Mm.
it could have been a write up or something else. But we have to be able to not be so. Let me say, not be so. Not so eager, but we have to be more eager to say, okay, hey, we're dealing with something too. If other people can claim it, why can't we? That doesn't make us less than just because we're recognizing those things about ourselves that are the equivalent and the same as what everybody else goes through.
Wow.
Mm. Well, you know what? I'm not nowhere near dealing with people with mental illness or any expert in it. I can share my experience from where I look back, and I do believe that I had some type of mental illness. And at the time, I didn't recognize it, but looking back, I probably needed to go to therapy. There was some
Mm.
issues going on when I left my first husband after 17 years. I don't know how I kept my job because I never got up to go to work. My children were young. It's just a good thing I had taught them at an early age how to cook and make themselves food because that's what they were doing on a daily basis. And I wouldn't even get out of the bed. I was just and looking back, I was going through a depression. And I did not realize that I was going through a depression. But one thing I can go back to what Yana said, you have to reach for that higher power because that's exactly what I did to pull myself out. I didn't know that I needed help at the time. I had already alienated my family. So there were no family members around to identify that I had something going on. But one particular day, I looked at my children and I said, I got to get up and do better for them. And that's what pulled me out of that bed and got me back to life.
And that's where that aha moment that triggers you to go back to living instead of
Absolutely.
trying to code exactly. And that's the reason why, I always say, my writing is my therapy. I get to be crazy and people accept it and are entertained by the words I write on a piece of paper.
Okay.
I like to say
Brandon,
that's that.
go ahead, Joe.
Real quick, I was just gonna say I like to say that's that greater is he that is in me than he who was in the world moment. You know what I mean? You took the time and what you saw what God had placed inside of you already. It was already there. You know what I mean? You just had to activate in order to pull yourself out of the rut. You know what I mean?
That's true. And believe it or not, I had to go back and go back and recognize and get a better relationship with my faith. That was the one thing because when no one else was listening to me, I had to listen to the person that was actually talking to me.
I want to read what Griffin Brandon is saying. Black people are using the black and white thing as an excuse to stay right there. He says we can't use the white thing anymore. Black people, us, we have to come together. And he says depression is real too, and black people want to use all kinds of excuses to stay where they are. He says no more excuses. We got to get up, and you must have a relationship with God.
Oh, yes.
True
And
that.
Griffin is an author, if I'm not mistaken. Am I right?
He's a
That's
very good
correct.
author.
And he talks
Yes.
about his story, and he's gone through an awful lot. And to come out to write a book and to be where he's at, hey,
Yes.
bruh,
He was on the
fantastic.
show and he talked about his mental illness. And
Yeah, we
I
support you,
think
brother.
when you're able to talk about it, I think you've come a long way when you're able to talk about it and admit it. And he has his second book out now, so it has
Okay.
just been released. So if you want to see either book one and book two, and it's on Amazon.
Right. And he's a beautiful person to know. I mean, the night of DAG, the award show, this young brother was the first person called me. He's a beautiful brother, and we talk. He's a beautiful brother.
Yes, and again, he went through some things, and I'm telling you, this is something that we need to be educated on because
True.
I can't ever remember it being ever talked about. Not in my family, not in school. And that's why I didn't recognize that I was going through a depression. But what it did help me to do was when my sister went through depression, I was able to recognize it. And so I stepped in and did things to to kind of help bring her out of it because at that point I knew what it looked like. But when I went through it, I didn't know what it looked like.
This thing, you, and I guess there's different types of depression as well. I know I used to be a gambler. Chris will tell you that. I used to lose a lot of money. I wasn't depressed about it, but the thing is, and to relate it to this is, unless you understand and recognize that you have a problem, you're never going to get well. You know what I mean? You're never going to get well. I had to go and literally see what I was spending in order to say, well, hey, I got a problem. 27 grand a month is not cool. I got a problem. And I didn't know it till I was trying to trick and give me a hotel room, and then I saw the screen and it said that, and needless to say, I didn't get that hotel room that night because I was pissed off. But I'm just saying, it's a kick in the butt. So how can people, once someone's identified with that, how can we help that a person who's identified with mental illness? I know you can't help unless they want to be helped, but okay, we want to help. They don't want to be helped. How can we help?
Being understanding, just being open-minded, and open to the fact of knowing like these things are out here in this world. People are suffering in silence a lot of times. So just being kind, like you never know how far an encouraging word or a smile or a hug can take somebody. Like just bringing humanity back, like being kind to one another, showing love, embracing love. Love conquers all. I truly believe that. So whether you understand a person's struggle completely or not, just being a listening ear, allowing them the opportunity, if they do feel comfortable with you, to vent to you, just being a shoulder, just being a kind person. That's something that we all can do on an everyday basis with everyone that we encounter.
Okay. Jeff, we might as well put that life coaching in it, man. Give us a synopsis of what we've heard today.
What we've heard today is we've heard what mental illness is. Mental illness is something that people live with, and you'll never know that they have it in some cases. Sometimes you can see it written on somebody else's face. But one thing that we all know and we all do agree on is that in order to tackle your mental illness, you have to recognize and know that it's there. And we need resources too, people. The resources can be right there in front of your face too, also. But we have to do more to kind of help each other with that. Just as Gina said earlier, she said she went through her state of depression, but then when her sister went through it, then she was able to help her sister with that. We have to be able to set ourselves up so that we can go ahead and grab the next person and not leave them behind. whether it's due to any type of sickness or depression or mental illness. We have to be able to help one another out through this big journey, because all this is the circle of life, we call it. Once something else dies off, something else gonna go ahead and continue to complete the circle right on. So don't be a hindrance to anybody. Take the advice like Ayanna said. Go ahead and show love to people. Show gratitude. Be an ear. Give somebody a hug. You know what I mean? And show kindness and peace. You just do not know the type of impact you might be able to make on somebody's life.
That's facts. We're the redirect, regroup, refocus. That's life coach Jeff Relaford's platform. April 14th, man. It's him. Y'all come with questions. We're gonna throw him at him, and either he gonna coach you or either gonna bench you. Put me in, coach. Put me in, coach. Tasha Malone said, "True." And let's keep Brandon Griffin. I'm tired of saying it the backwards way. Keep Brandon lifted up, man. Okay, that guy's a fantastic individual. He's a great author, and he's very transparent with his story. So
I have to tell the name of his book. The Outcast Will Outlast.
Yeah, true that. Y'all authors, y'all something else, man. Y'all come up with these titles.
Exactly.
Booty shake on a restaurant floor. Something like that. I don't know.
Stick with producing.
I'm stay in my lane.
Man.
Stay in my lane. I'm gonna make sure I stay in my lane. Joy Knott says hello. Hey,
hi, Joy.
Hey, Joy.
Hey, Joy.
You guys tuning in. So, we're talking with Ayanna Jones. She's I call her a therapist. Can I call you that?
I'm not a therapist. I thought about going to school for it though, but
you've been helping people.
Set up. Huh?
You've been helping people.
You definitely educated us. Now, you know what I want you to do, Yana? I want you to tell us what exactly your Breaking Cycles 365. What does it do to help the community?
Honestly, I've just been hosting different events. Just trying to bring awareness to the organization as of right now. But once I really hit the ground running, I really want to bring the type of things that we are sitting here talking about to the forefront of the community, and not just where I am. I want to take this all over the country, honestly. I feel like we all are in a position now where we all need to heal, and not just for ourselves, but for the generations after us. The mission pretty much of Breaking Cycles is breaking generational curses and creating generational wealth. I truly believe that a part of maintaining wealth has everything to do with your mental health, because it all starts with our mind. So just bringing awareness to these kind of things that we're talking about, giving people the opportunity to just kind of set themselves free, let go of whatever hindrances they may have had over the years, and really see that they can live a full and purposeful life. And then just let the kids know early on, like, the things that you go through, they don't determine you. It's up to you to use them, to empower yourself, to help the next person, just to live a great life. You just gotta decide that you're gonna buckle down and keep it moving no matter what. And I'm just trying to help empower everybody. And I also, like, we actually talked about it on here. I want to implement a crisis intervention team where I have like a licensed therapist and a community advocate. But of course, the community advocates, I want to have them trained in trauma-informed care, just a lot of different things, so they're able to meet people where they are. Yeah, the vision is very big, man. It's very big. Ultimately, I really want to have like a recovery center for kids, pretty much where they can come, get their spirit fed, get exposed to different possibilities of life, just a lot of different things.
And you're located where?
Indianapolis, Indiana.
All right. You're speaking it, girl. You're speaking it. It's going to happen. You spoke it into existence.
I've been speaking it into existence for a very long time. Slow and steady wins the race.
That's okay. As long as you keep speaking it,
that's
it's
right.
We don't know. Like you took it up there. We don't know when He's going to give us our blessing, our total blessing. Okay, but you've been blessed.
Yeah, much appreciated here.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank
So
you.
it's going to come. Let me ask you though, are there levels of mental illness?
I truly believe it is.
And what are
Um,
those levels?
like
How
I
do
just
I
to
do that?
notice, just sitting here with y'all, I just some people sharing a little bit of their trauma. I truly believe it is levels. If I go a little bit into depth, I've been suicidal before. I've been at points where I just felt like I could take on the world and I didn't care about nothing. And I've also been kind of like I've been in that depressive state. So I truly believe there is levels to it. And that's why it's so important to be aware of yourself and not just look at yourself as you're supposed to be one way all the time. Just willing to be self-aware and accept you and all that means. If you
I
have
have a
that,
question. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut
no,
you
you're
off.
fine. You're fine.
No, I have a question that has nothing to do with me. I was going to go for a joke, but that's the ongoing joke within us for the week. Laughter. Is laughter a true science to help with mental health, or is it just a conversation?
I feel like it is.
Oh well, I'm a doctor then.
I
Dr.
truly feel like
Grace.
it is. If you ask me, laughter is God's hand on the troubled world. Truthfully, because laughter is contagious. If you see somebody smiling at you, you're gonna end up smiling back. It's contagious. It's contagious. It may only last for a hot second, but just that little second of joy can make you feel hopeful for just that little bit. And you may not feel it after that moment until the next day, but at least you know that there is a possibility.
I'm changing my name right now.
Dr. Greg.
I'm the doctor now. Laugh and the world laughs with you. Cry and you cry alone. Definitely. So that's cool. And so how long have you been doing breaking cycles?
To be honest with you, I registered June of 2020. But legally, I've been doing it since 2020. But like, it's not on me, it's in me. Like, with every interaction that I have, with every connection, every person that I meet, it's in me. I don't know. I've been gifted in some way, shape, form, or fashion. So like I said, it's not on me, it's in me. All my life.
Oh my.
That's what's up. Do you like it? Do you like doing what you do?
I love it. I genuinely do. It's so awesome. Just even with my own child, it's so awesome to see the transformations within people. And it's honestly, it's really rewarding. I love being able to be somebody else's cheerleader. Like, I am all for supporting anybody and whatever they're doing. Like, I'm all for it. I love it because helping the next person, it helps me. It builds my strength. It helps brighten my light as I'm helping others brighten theirs.
So has there been anyone who you've helped to come back to you and just thank you, thank you, thank you?
Yeah, honestly.
How does that feel?
Yeah, it feels amazing. Honestly, most times I can't do nothing but give God the glory because it's just like whatever I said, whatever I did, it wasn't nothing but God. Because 9 times out of 10, if I'm able to help you, is because I've been through it or something similar myself. And I was just able to remove myself and my feelings from the situation. So it feels amazing.
That's a good thing. That's a beautiful thing. And a lot of people don't talk about it, you know. So I applaud you for doing what you do and putting the word out, bringing awareness to it. I think it's so important that people understand what it is. Instead of somebody saying, "Oh, you crazy," well, hey, maybe I am, but it's a clinical term for it, and it's mental illness. Um, so I applaud you for doing what you do. Honestly, it's something that's needed, and again, we have to keep talking about it. There's a lot of things we have to keep talking about, but we need to talk about the important things, and we need to make sure that people are aware of mental illness, aware that they may even have it. We sit here on this panel every day, but in some way, fashion, or form, which is why I asked you, what are the levels? I think all of us has something going on that we might have a something, towards mental illness, going towards mental illness. Am I right, Coach Jeff?
Hey, it could be. My thing is, if you're dealing with anything internal, you know what I mean, and it has the power and ability to possibly rule over you, and you have to control that. You might be on something there a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I like to, I know as busy as we all are, Chris and Mo and Kevin, Gina, Coach, and as busy as we all are, there are some things that everything doesn't go our way. And it makes us act a certain way. It makes us act different. It's like we're disappointed that it didn't go the way that we wanted to go. But I think as seasoned as we are, we understand those things happen. Now, let me ask you this too, Ayanna. How important is rest and sleep in combating or shying away mental illness?
It's extremely important. You become delirious if you're not sleeping, and truthfully, honestly, people, if you're a person who's diagnosed bipolar or schizophrenic or something like that, when you're in that manic state, 9 times out of 10 you're not sleeping. So that's why a lot of people just are kind of all over the place. So, and then like your brain needs rest. Genuinely, you gotta stop thinking. You gotta turn it off, because if you don't, you're gonna drive yourself crazy. You cannot. I don't care if your hustle hand is 10 times strong. Like you have to rest, because after a while, you're gonna start making crazy decisions, doing crazy stuff, and people gonna start looking at you crazy, and it's all because you ain't had no sleep. It definitely can make you seem delirious and delusional. Go to
bed. Say go to bed.
Good night, guys.
Just telling off on myself, all right?
You are telling off on yourself. You lucky Marcy isn't here.
She says, Nut Rishion.
That's an important one. I'm actually kind of learning a lot more about the nutrition aspect of it. Like a lot of the things that we eat determine our mental capacity too. Like I'm learning that blueberries is considered like brain food. I didn't know that. But
yeah, the darker the fruit, the better it is for you. There's a book called Eat Not to Die, which talks about the science of food. It's a very good book.
Well, I always say the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice.
Look,
oh my, that does make a difference in your diet. Like even when it comes to salt, sugar, processed foods, a lot of that takes a toll on your body and on your brain. Yeah. And it's good for
it all creates inflammation.
It's good for you to know your blood type and figure out the type of foods that you should and should not eat.
Yep.
So, see, I'm getting old. I'm tired. All right. I was going to ask.
Berries.
There was both. There was an instance a long time ago. I remember a wrestler. I think it's Chris Benoit. He was taking steroids, and I guess they said that the drugs is what made him get into a roid rage and killed his whole family and then killed himself. Can these medications for mental illness take you to another place, an angry place?
You mean like a trigger?
Yeah.
I genuinely believe so. Just being transparent, my little sister has been taking medication for a very long time. She's started taking medication when she was like 6. And just witnessing the different changes within her when they would change her medication. Sometimes she would be enraged. Sometimes she would be so out of it that she really couldn't even function or interact with people. Like it definitely can. That's why it's so important to, if medication is the route that you're going to take, make sure that it's it doesn't make you feel bad. And if you have somebody who is aware that you are trying to kind of figure out your mental state and you're considering medication, just kind of ask them to kind of help keep record of your mood. It may sound crazy, but we always aren't aware of what we're going through, as Gina said before. So just kind of have somebody there with you if it can be.
And that's that's the answer to a lot of kids that we thought was normal, and I still think it's normal that the child can't sit down, a 2-year-old can't sit down, and now they're given these drugs to bring them down. And I think about giving a child a drug at that age, and their
The
brains
body
are
doesn't need
this
it.
size,
Yeah.
and then something my doctor told me, one thing he said, he doesn't like to prescribe medications if it's not necessarily needed, because your body, whatever it is that medication is taking the place of that body function, that organ stops working because
True
it
that.
depends on that
That is true.
medication.
Yep.
Hey, Gina, who is your doctor? I need to talk.
Absolutely. Look, that is it.
But that's the reason why you need to pay attention to side effects. There's medications that basically says, well, if you're suffering from depression, this will cure the depression. But the side effects is you may have nosebleeds, you may have diarrhea. We have cases where people wanted to commit suicide, but they're not depressed anymore.
Right.
Exactly.
Go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say, medication is what keeps the government going.
Absolutely.
It is.
You know what I'm saying? So when I didn't want to say nothing when y'all was talking about the medication, but it's really like to deal with problems is pretty much like it's natural substance. You know what I'm saying? Like the things when it comes to like ADHD, for instance. They're trying to say kids have ADHD when a kid is being a kid.
You're exactly right.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And that's
kids,
medication.
that's 2 years old that just sit down and they're cooling and chilling out.
But one thing that we don't know as people is that these schools get paid money for having these kids diagnosed with ADHD.
I do know that.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of things deeper, even with the police situation. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to hiring police officers, they're getting old armed forces vets to be police officers, or people that's not familiar with the area, that's from another area. You know what I'm saying? I always said that our own, like if you get someone that's from the area to become a police officer, the killing and the police brutality comes down more because they know their community. You know what I'm saying? They know the person that they're dealing with. Seeing them grow up and all of that, or went to school with them. You know what I'm saying? It's those type of situations. But I mean, we talked about the police brutality before. You know what I'm saying? When we talked about the police brutality bonds, about us still being 3/5 human in the law books and all that stuff when it comes to being black people. You know what I'm saying? Like, police officers are not told, if you feel threatened, use deadly violence or deadly force. They say use force. Police officers are always supposed to use their stun gun first. They're not supposed to. The only time the gun is supposed to be pulled is if a gun is pulled on them. That's the only time a gun is supposed to be pulled. It's not supposed to be pulled out in a traffic stop, in a knife situation, any of that. It's not supposed to be pulled out at all.
And that causes mental illness. That causes.
It does.
That creates trauma in the neighborhood.
That creates trauma.
But look, think about it this way: hiring police officers that was in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, they should do psych evaluations before they even let them become
exactly.
Well,
they don't do that.
Well, they have their own issues, especially if they're exposed to battle. You know,
exactly. They bringing their trauma to innocent
because
people.
Not the very first, but the really start of mental illness came from
World War,
the Civil War. That's when they start really, because these soldiers going into battle and how they reacted when the battle was over with, or when they got shot, when they was up in the quote unquote hospitals that the Army has. That's when it started becoming a real big thing, and that was like in 1883 or something like that. You know what I'm saying? That's when it became like a real thing.
But you know what? That's a good point, Chris, because just like, and I'm thinking about the license plates, but just like police stop and run your plates on your car,
they're not supposed to.
But why can't
do that.
Why can't they run a check on an individual to see if they have a mental illness in their record?
They don't have no way right now.
We don't know. We don't know that.
But I'm saying,
not,
wouldn't that help
but this
to
is the one
be
thing,
able to deal with them?
Yeah, this is the one thing. Most of us don't know they're not supposed to run your plates. You have to be doing something unlawful for them to turn
exactly.
They can't run your plates. That's against the law. But we don't know that. And if you confront it, then it's a back and forth situation and turns into something totally different. Like you're not supposed to get out your car. We don't know that because as soon as you get out your car, they can have your car towed for abandoning a vehicle. But we don't know that. You see what I'm saying? We're not taught that. I think Ayanna said it earlier. We need certain things we weren't taught when we was in school. We didn't find out till we got grown about it. And now we have to take that knowledge and feed that knowledge into our kids on how to handle situations.
Well, it's just like the young man I was telling you. He basically said, if you look a cop in the eye as you're driving by, you've just justified them pulling you over.
But that's not even a justification of pulling someone over. No, it's not. It's not at all. You can look at a cop in the eye, but
mind from when he in his mind, that's his justification.
No, but no, it's not though. He can say well, in that case, he can have it in his mind, but he can't do it.
I agree. I got pulled over in my little sports car and it freaked me out because I was driving in one of those neighborhoods that I'm not supposed to be driving in, and he pulled me over, asked for my driver's license and identification, and he says, "I just wanted to take a look at your car," and I'm going, "You can't do that."
Yeah, you can't do that at all.
No,
people don't. I mean, like we don't know when people say they have to have some type of, inkling that you're doing something illegal,
right?
Drinking, smoking marijuana, any of that.
Selling drugs,
but they really need a search warrant to search your car.
Justifiable cause.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So but they need a search warrant if they don't
have to go to a
that
judge.
Justifiable cause. They need a search warrant they need a search warrant to go in your house.
Yeah.
That's so crazy, but a lot of cops got caught getting around that. These little kids running around here in these cars, booming. The sleds, the slabs, and they run around here and they booming. They smoking weed. They doing a little dirt. Recreational dirt, and they get pulled over. They tell them, "No, you can't search my car. What'd you pull me over for?" Just because he was booming riding down the street. That ain't well. Unless it's a decibel law. Unless it's a decibel law. I'm talking about profiling.
They profile for sure. But it's the difference between that is that they feel in the law is disturbing the peace.
Yeah.
Well, they pull them over, and then the next thing they do, and they tell them, "You can't search my car."
Yeah.
Right. But that's what I'm saying.
But these dirty dogs, these dirty dogs do here.
That's the inkling to pull them over.
They call their buddy. They call their buddy up. He's got a K9. If the K9 hit, he know the K9 go hit because he can smell the weed coming out of the car.
Yeah.
Right.
And well, I mean, call them to search the car.
Hey, Jeff,
I can tell you a story. I was driving from Baltimore. Well, I was driving from Maryland to Texas, and got pulled over in Louisiana. And when we got pulled over in Louisiana, they brought out the K9 dogs. But when they brought out the K9 dogs, they had the K9 dog go around once. The K9 dog didn't do nothing. Had the K9 go around twice. Then he kicked the back tire. Then the K9 started barking. So that's the trick that they use to be able to search your car.
They're mentally ill.
Exactly.
The dog is mentally ill.
No, the person is mentally ill.
Hey, Jeff,
they all mentally ill.
This ties into the mental part of our culture.
Well, tie it in.
Yeah, I am so glad we had this conversation with you guys tonight.
Because we have to tell our kids. We have to tell our kids, all of our kids, how to act when they leave the house.
And that's trauma.
And we are all traumatized as a society.
It is. That's what it is. But
we have to tell our kids to be afraid of the police.
Or either be afraid or be so compliant to where
not being afraid though. It's traumatizing because of what we've been through as a culture pretty much our whole time over here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Everything is traumatizing. That's why they show people getting shot on national TV.
Yeah.
Because they want to traumatize us to being scared of the police.
Well, back in the
And
day,
that's the same way they did
used
back
to be
in the
hanging from a
centuries
tree.
when they tarred and feathered you in public.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Or hanging from a tree.
This is
And left them hanging.
traumatized. 2.0.
Yeah, I mean, and I know Ayanna knows about this. I mean, it's like 3 ideologies of mental illness. You know what I'm saying? It's psychogenetics. It's supernatural when you start hearing things, seeing things, and all that. And the other one is what is it called? Somatogenetics, I think it's called. The other one, that's the third one. I know it's psychogenetics, it's natural, supernatural, and it's I think it's simogenetics. SAMOTOGENIC is how you spell it. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but that's the third ideology of mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of it has to do with, like you said, a person not being quote unquote normal like everybody else.
Wow.
Because it comes from the eyes of the beholders. So if a person don't act like you act, then it's like, oh, they must have a mental illness.
Right.
Because they're different.
Yep.
They don't fit the norm.
They don't get the norm. Exactly.
So-called norm, air quotes.
Yeah. So I mean, it's different ways to look at it. It is something. It is a real thing. It's not like something that's made up. It is a real thing because everybody go through that phase of depression.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
Good. I haven't hit the
mental illness
trifecta
situation. Yet. You know what I'm saying? Which leads to probably obesity.
I'm not seeing things yet. I don't see ghosts yet.
Well,
hey, it happens though, bro.
Speaking of ghosts, everybody welcome Marcella to the show.
Oh Lord. Setup. That was the whole setup. I gave the man the alley-oop.
Yeah, you did. You did. I want to speak. I've been listening in the car on the way here, and I just want to speak on a few of the things. When we talked about diet and mental illness, it is so important. And like I believe that was Ayanna that was talking about the dark fruits, the blueberries, the blackberries, the dark tart cherries, the pomegranates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Those, it's so important, and not just that, the leafy green vegetables. It is so important with your fruits and vegetables, staying away, like I think Gina said, staying away from the processed foods, the sugary foods, the do whole grains and things like that. But that has a lot to do with your mental health. Also, regarding sleep, I believe Ayanna touched on that. A lot of people with mental illness do not get enough sleep, and that just makes it exasperates your illness. Let's talk about the meds that they have you on with all of the different side effects, and those are nothing but chemicals. Pharmaceutical companies are the biggest crooks in the United States, the biggest crooks. And like I think Chris made the comment about the doctors getting kickbacks. They get kickbacks for the meds. Something that I noticed with a lot of our children that are being diagnosed with ADD and ADHD, the high attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. They want to put them on Ritalin, Adderall. That makes their
Ritalin is crazy.
All of the meds are crazy, but it makes their heart race, and to me, it makes them worse. And people don't realize. My son had ADD. And they wanted to put him on that. And I started him on it very briefly. He said, my heart is racing. I don't feel right. So I started researching. And parents, that's what you need to do. Research, even if it's not
due diligence
for any illness, research and see what is out there natural. God made plants for everything. There's a cure for everything with plants. But the thing is, if you want to switch over to a holistic lifestyle, it doesn't cure and do things right away like a chemical med. You will have to be on it for a longer length of time for it to start really kicking into your system. But something that, like I said, with the ADD and ADHD, caffeine, how caffeine normally hypes up most normal, and I don't want to say normal people that don't have ADHD, caffeine actually does the opposite. Right. So if you have a child out there that has like ADHD, try maybe like a half cup of hot cocoa, not necessarily coffee or a soft drink, which is a sugary drink that has caffeine, but maybe a half cup of hot cocoa in the mornings before they go to school, because what it is, they can't focus. They can be in a classroom and everyone is quiet in there, but that child with ADD or ADHD, there might be a plane going over the school and they don't hear that. They don't, I mean, they don't hear the quiet. They will hear that airplane and they would lose focus to look out the window to try to see that. That's like listening to a music CD. And we're hearing all of the instruments, we're, and hearing the lyrics, but someone with ADD or ADHD might just pick out that one little, say it could be a drum that's going tap, tap, tap. And that's all they're going to hear. So they lose focus and they cannot organize. They're very unorganized. You have to kind of get them back to focus. Now,
hey, Marcy, you trying to say I'm mentally ill? That's what you're trying to tell me?
No, baby.
No, I was going to say I like her
sleep. I don't sleep at all.
Okay, well,
sleep
is very important, not just for mental illness, but period.
But
because that's when your body rests and heals.
When your mind's racing, it's hard for you to sleep.
Chris, 500 milligrams. I'm telling everybody, okay, this will get your kids sleep at night. This is 500 milligrams Jack Daniels, all right?
The views that are expressed on this Dope Living TV are not necessarily
those of Dope Living TV or its affiliates.
I think actually, when you're sleeping, hot cocoa with a shot glass of maple rum. That's maple syrup.
I don't drink.
Stop it.
I don't drink.
When you're sleeping, that's when your body actually heals.
It does. That's
and
fact.
when you're sleeping,
That's true.
So you need to
it's one of those situations where
1 minute, y'all.
Not saying I don't sleep, but when I crash, I crash.
Do you take naps in the daytime?
No.
Look, I understand what Chris is talking about because I'm on that same level.
If I take a nap, my whole day will be gone. My nap's like going to sleep at night, 8 hours and all this stuff.
And that's because he has so much on his mind. There's so much running through your mind. Your mind can't sleep. Even when you're sleeping, your mind is still going.
Exactly, because when I'm sleeping, I'm dreaming about what I got to do.
Can I say one more? Can I hit one more point first?
You got to make it quick.
Okay, that's because I was taking notes and driving. The last one is on the police and dealing with mental illness. Police are not trained properly. And there are only a few states that have where they're training, where they actually have a mental illness unit. So if you're calling in for a wellness check, which you have to do for mental illness, you have to say it's a wellness check and there's a mental illness involved, because then the mental illness unit will come out. Police are not trained at all. Most of the police are not trained. They have no clue. And like Chris, you were saying that the process, tased, and things, not unless a gun comes out. They are trained to shoot in your lungs, your heart, in that area. My son was schizophrenic. They came in for a wellness check, told the paramedics to stay outside in the ambulance, and they came in and they shot and murdered my son. Why? They were not trained. They were racist. They didn't care. They did not even try to revive him or anything. That's when I started finding out more. And we need to change our laws, and we need to unify to change our laws so that every state, every police department has a mental illness unit. So we can stop killing our babies at the drop of a hat, and just period with the. I'm gonna get off the police because I'm here to get a little pissy, because I was also for looking at a police in the eye, and I was pulled over. And I did win my case because I was pulled over as I went through a stop sign after I had stopped.
Oh, I thought you was going to say you just went through it.
No. I stopped. There were 2 cars in front of me who had stopped, and then I stopped, and I just happened to went through.
Marcy, Marcy, you can't be bumping the Hawkins family gospel music that loud though. That's why they
No, I
y'all. We gotta get out of here. Ayanna, look, thank you for coming on and sharing your knowledge with us. That's a great way to close out Women's History Month. We appreciate you most definitely. How can people get in contact with you?
Yes.
Thank you for having me. You can find me on Facebook. My name is Ayanna Jones on Facebook. My Breaking Cycles is Breaking Cycles 365 on Facebook. Then we also have BreakingCyclesInc.com, and if anybody is in Indianapolis, myself and the organization I am partnering with, we're hosting a parent and youth summit April 9th and 10th at Martin University. We'll cover things like decision making, self-esteem, financial literacy, giving the kids scholarship help, just all kinds of different things, a lot of different resources. Just trying to bring the community together. So yeah, Indianapolis, April 9th and 10th.
We appreciate you. We hope we have done everything we can to at least inform you guys out there about mental illness. All right, just take care of yourselves and take care of everybody else that's out there. All right, we had a great week this week. Like I said, this is a hell of a way to close out Women's History Month. We thank you, Ayanna, for coming in. We thank everybody here for participating. It's been great. That's it for us until Monday, guys. We will see you guys then. Until then, man, everybody have a good weekend. And that's it. Peace out.
Peace.
Thank you, Yana.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.